Ginning was traditionally done by hand as shown in figure 3.7. These days, machines are also used for ginning. Ginning. Jute. Jute fiber is obtained from the stem of the jute plant as shown in figure 3.8. It is cultivated during the rainy season. In India, jute is mainly grown in West Bengal, Bihar, and Assam. The jute plant is normally harvested when it is at flowering stage. The stems of the harvested plants are immersed in water for a few days. The stems rot. Yes, the stems rot, and fibers are separated by hand. To make fabrics, all these fibers are first converted into yarns. How is it done? 3.4 Spinning cotton yarn. You can try making cotton yarn yourself. Activity 4. Hold some cotton wool in one hand. Pinch some cotton between the thumb and forefinger of the other hand. Now gently start pulling out the cotton while continuously twisting the fibers as shown in figure 3.9. Are you able to make a yarn? The process of making yarn from fibers is called spinning. The process of making yarn, Y-A-R-N, from fibers, F-I-B-R-E-S, is called spinning. The process of making yarn from fibers is called spinning. In this process, fibers from a mass of cotton wool are drawn out and twisted. This brings the fibers together to form a yarn. A simple device used for spinning is a hand spindle, also called tuckli, as shown in figure 3.10. T-A-K-L-I, tuckli. Another hand-operated device used for spinning is charkha, as shown in figure 3.11. Use of charkha was popularized by Mahatma Gandhi as part of the independence movement. He encouraged people to wear clothes made of homespun yarn and shun imported cloth made in the mills of Britain. Spinning of yarn on a large scale is done with the help of spinning machines. After spinning, yarns are used for making fabrics. So from fiber to yarn to fabric. 3.5 Yarn to fabric. There are many ways by which fabrics are made from yarns. The two main processes are weaving and knitting. Knitting, K-N-I-T-T-I-N-G. Weaving. In activity 2, you might have noticed that a fabric is made up of two sets of yarns arranged together. The process of arranging two sets of yarns together to make a fabric is called weaving. Wow! The process of arranging two sets of yarns together to make a fabric is called weaving. Let us try to weave some paper strips. So basically, how do you arrange these two sets of yarn? One set of yarn is vertical. So there's lots of vertical yarns. And the other set of yarns is horizontal. So there are lots of horizontal yarns. And we interweave them. The process of arranging two sets of yarns together to make a fabric is called weaving. Activity 5. Take two sheets of paper of different colors. Cut square pieces of length and width equal to 30 centimeters from each sheet. Now fold both the sheets into half. Make long slits in one paper and make strips of the other. Run each strip up and down through the slits in the other paper. In this similar manner, two sets of yarn are woven to make a fabric. The yarns are much thinner than our paper strips, of course. Weaving of fabric is done on looms as shown in figure 3.13. The looms are either hand-operated or power-operated. Knitting, K-N-I-T-T-I-N-G. The word knitting has two N's, two I's and two T's. Have you noticed how sweaters are knitted? In knitting, a single yarn is used to make a piece of fabric, as shown in figure 3.14. Have you ever pulled the yarn from a torn pair of socks? What happens? A single yarn gets pulled out continuously as the fabric gets unraveled. Socks and many other clothing items are made of knitted fabrics. Knitting is done by hand and also on machines. Weaving and knitting are used for making different kinds of fabric. These fabrics are used for a variety of clothing items. Paheli wants to know if you have seen any fabrics that are made of the fibers on the outer covering of a coconut. What are these fibers normally used for? 3.6 History of Clothing Material. Have you ever wondered what materials people used in ancient times for clothes? It appears that in those times people used the bark and big leaves of trees or animal skins and furs to cover themselves. Bark of trees, big leaves of trees, or animal skins or animal furs. After people began to settle in agricultural communities, they learned to weave twigs and grass into mats and baskets. Vines, animal fleece or hair were twisted together into long strands. These were woven into fabrics. The early Indians wore fabrics made out of cotton that grew in the regions near the river Ganga. Flax is also a plant that gives natural fibers. In ancient Egypt, cotton as well as flax were cultivated near the river Nile and were used for making fabrics. In those days, stitching was not known. People simply draped the fabrics around different parts of their body. Many different ways of draping fabrics were used. With the invention of the sewing needle, S-E-W-I-N-G, sewing, Needle, needle, people started stitching fabrics to make clothes. Stitched clothes have gone through many variations since this invention. But is it not amazing that even today, the sari, dhoti, lungi or turban is used as an unstitched piece of fabric? Wow! The sari, the dhoti, the lungi and the turban are used as an unstitched piece of fabric. Just as there is a large variety in the food eaten all over our country, a large variety exists also in fabrics and clothing items. Keywords: cotton wool, fabric, fiber, knitting, spinning, weaving, yarn. Summary: there is a variety of clothing material of fabric such as cotton, silk, wool and polyester. Princess Esther, Esther, would only wear polyester. Polyester. Princess Esther would only wear polyester. Fabrics are made from yarns, which in turn are made from fibers. Fibers are either natural or synthetic. Cotton, wool, silk and jute are some natural fibers, while nylon and polyester are some examples of synthetic fibers. Never wear nylon and go near a fire because nylon catches fire easily. Fibers like cotton and jute are obtained from plants. The process of making yarn from fibers is called spinning. Fabric from yarns is made by weaving and knitting. Suggested projects and activities. 1. Visit a nearby handloom or powerloom unit and observe the weaving or knitting of fabric. 2. Find out if any crop is grown in your region for obtaining fiber. If yes, what is it used for? 3. India has been a major producer of cotton and its fabric. India exports cotton fabrics and items to many other countries. Find out how it helps us. 4. Do you know that famous Sufi saint and poet Kabir was a weaver? Find out about his life and teachings. 5. You can do an activity to identify the yarns of a fabric under the supervision of your teacher or parents. Pull out 6 to 8 yarns from the fabric. Hold one end of the yarn with a tongue and bring the other end over the flame of a candle. Observe carefully. Observe carefully. Do the yarns shrink away from the flame? Do the yarns melt or burn? What type of odor is given off? O-D-O-U-R. Odor is smell. Note down your observations. If these are cotton yarns, they burn but do not shrink or melt. The burning yarn gives an odor similar to burning paper. The silk yarn shrinks away from the flame and burns, but does not melt. The silk yarn shrinks away from the flame and burns, but does not melt. It has the odor of charred meat. The wool yarn also shrinks and burns, but does not melt. It has a strong odor of burning hair. The synthetic yarns shrink and burn. They also melt and give out an odor similar to burning plastics. The synthetic yarns shrink and burn, shrink and burn, shrink and burn. They also melt, and give out an odor similar to burning plastics. In a nutshell, synthetic yarns, when they burn, give out a horrible odor. Bujo knows that burning of cotton yarn gives an odor similar to burning paper. He is wondering if he can assume that paper is also made from plants. Do you think paper is also made from plants? Thank you, Lord.